I just bought a new camera and it might surprise you what I chose to get, because honestly, it is not the camera that I expected to get next. So why should you care? Well, when it comes time to choose your next camera, there's so many incredible ones out there on the market right now with really high specs and just so much hype around them. So it can be really overwhelming trying to decide between all of them. But sometimes the latest and greatest is not always the right camera for you and your needs. So let's play a little game right now and see if you can guess what camera's behind this card right now. Leave a comment below, no skipping ahead and cheating. And to make it that much easier for you, I have a list of popular camera specs right here, and I'm gonna start actually marking off what the camera has. So let's just get started. This camera does not have 12-bit. It also doesn't have 10-bit. Which already narrows it down pretty quickly. It is an 8-bit camera. So knowing that, it doesn't have 4K 120p, doesn't even have 4K 60p, unfortunately. I wish it did. Doesn't have 12K, of course, no 8K, and no 6K. So that gets rid of one really popular camera right now. It only films up to 4K. It doesn't have ProRes RAW. It doesn't have B-RAW, and it's not even a full-frame camera. It's actually APS-C. So it does have in-body image stabilization. It does have a flip-out screen. It has good autofocus. I know it's hard for you guys to read this. And it does have unlimited recording time. And there's no overheating. So, just based on those specs, with this little camera specs bingo card or whatever you want to call this, have you guessed the correct camera? Drum roll. It's the Sony A6600. Woo! So why would I choose a camera like the Sony A6600 when there's so many fully spec'd out cameras right now that can shoot 8K, 4K 120p, 12-bit, RAW, all those sort of things? Why would I choose this camera that's only 8-bit and an APS-C crop sensor? Well, this camera filled pretty much all of the needs that I have right now for shooting these YouTube videos. So if you didn't already know, almost every single video on this channel where I'm talking was shot on the Sony A6500. And it's been an absolute workhorse for me. But it finally came time to upgrade to the Sony A6600, which essentially has the exact same image. So why did I make the switch? Well, there are a lot of things packed into this camera where the A6500 was lacking. When I make these YouTube videos, the camera is on and filming for a long time. At 24 frames per second, 4K, it would still overheat, which is the worst because I'd have to turn it off, let it cool down for a minute, before I could turn it back on and try and keep on going. And for anyone that makes videos, you know that this is just like the worst, throws off your flow and just slows everything down dramatically, which you really don't want, especially when you need to make a lot of videos quickly and get them out. So that was a major reason for switching to the A6600, no overheating. Another huge advantage that goes right along with that is that there's no record limit on the A6600. So I can film for an hour or 2 hours straight on one clip, and I don't have to worry about splitting everything up into little 30-minute clips where I may be in the middle of talking about something and then it stops recording and I don't even notice that it stopped recording, which has happened to me many times over the years. And that's the worst because you have to go back and refilm everything again wherever it stopped. Another thing is that it has a flip-up LCDs. So when I'm doing my live streams or I'm filming some behind the scenes or even maybe a little bit of like vlog content, I can easily frame myself up, make sure everything's in focus, and I don't have to attach an external LCD. Whereas, as you know, with the A6500, it only flips out like this. Now, most of the times when I'm filming in my studio office, I'm running on continuous power, so I don't have to worry about battery life. But there are times when I take this camera with me to shoot behind the scenes or some quick run and gun stuff, and I have to use these tiny little Sony NPF batteries, and they don't last very long, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how much I'm shooting. So that was another big advantage to me, switching over to the new Sony Z batteries, which last at least twice as long. So when I need it, it's definitely nice to have. Something else I love is the fact that the A6600 actually has a headphone jack, so I can easily monitor my audio when I'm making these videos, whereas the A6500, I've always been unable to do that unless I plug it into an external monitor. If you make a lot of videos where you have to film yourself, you know how important it is to have a camera with good continuous autofocus. So that's why I wanted to stick with the Sony lineup, because it has good autofocus and I already have good Sony native E-mount lenses with autofocus, so I didn't have to switch to different native glass for nice autofocus. Now, I do have the Fujifilm Xt4, which is a fantastic camera, and I love this for a lot of things, but it's not great at autofocus, and filming myself, it tends to hunt too much, and it's just not quick enough for me. So that's a reason that I decided not to film all my talking head with this camera. Of course, there are a bunch of advantages to the Xt4, like the fact that it can shoot 4K 60p, 10-bit, and a whole host of other things that make this such a great camera. But it just wasn't the right camera for me when it comes down to shooting YouTube talking head videos like the Sony A6600 is. For me, when making this style of content where I'm just talking and I need to quickly turn around, edit it up, and get it out there posted online, 8-bit footage is fine for me because I'm shooting in a controlled lighting environment where I can make everything look as good as I want and I don't have to worry about a ton of dynamic range. And the file sizes are so much smaller and more compressed than 8-bit, so they take up a lot less storage on my hard drives and they play back really smooth on my computer. They're nice and easy on it. Whereas when I shoot in 10-bit H.265, it's a lot harder on my computer and it just drops frames, and so it's more difficult to work with when you want to edit really quickly. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, I love all the latest and greatest cameras with all the highest specs. I mean, I'm shooting this on the Pocket 6K right now because it was the only other camera I had to shoot with, and I had to manually focus it, so hopefully I'm nice and sharp. But I mean, this shoots in B-RAW, 6K, 16 or 12-bit, which whoever you want to ask. And so it has all of the great features, and the Pocket 6K is typically the camera that I grab when I'm shooting client videos and corporate work and interviews and things like that, where I'm actually behind the camera and able to control everything, because then I can dial in everything exactly how I want it to be, and I don't need any autofocus. I want the greatest resolutions and the most flexibility with color grading later on in post-production. But when I want to make a video really quickly and turn it around, and I can't be behind the camera the whole time because I'm in front of it as the talent, I need something easy to use and with reliable autofocus and all the other things I've already talked about. That's why the A6600 made so much sense for this. So if you're like me and you film a lot of videos of yourself or do vlogging, the Sony A6600 still makes a lot of sense in 2021, even with the release of so many other new cameras since this one. All right, guys, if you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe right now because I have a ton more videos coming out in shooting, editing, lighting, gear reviews, everything like that, and you don't want to miss it. All right, I'll see you in the next video.